Bluetooth mode has been on. It's working.
Okay, everyone. You're welcome. My name is Patrick. You're welcome to this webinar, Introduction to Lean Six Sigma. It's my pleasure to present this webinar to you all. My name is Patrick Ajua. I'm a certified Lean Six Sigma Black Belter and also an accredited trainer for international certification. I want to really understand, this webinar is just to bring us to understand Lean and Six Sigma as a tool used for process improvement. So if you're here, please just raise your hand. You can always share any thoughts that you have or any questions in the chat box. And also, you can as well let us know if you have any concerns. Thank you for coming. One other we have as one rule here is that your phone must be on silence so that there won't be any disturbance. So you're welcome. My name once again is Patrick Adjuan. So what is this all about? First of all, about us, Right Track Consulting. Right Track Consulting is founded in 2009, and we've been in business since then, and we've been serving a lot of multinationals, small, medium-scale enterprises, multinationals, NGOs, and so many others. And some of our services include consulting, training, certification exam preparation, exams, and all that. So you're welcome once again. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to look at how, first of all, how to understand what Lean Six Sigma is all about. As an introduction to Lean Six Sigma, as a business, what do you do with it? History of Lean Six Sigma, the benefits of Lean Six Sigma as an improvement tool for an organization, the right track approach to Lean Six Sigma training and consulting. We're also going to look at the success stories of organizations, both multinationals and small and medium-scale organizations with Lean Six Sigma, what they've been able to achieve. So what is Lean? The philosophy of Lean manufacturing in the field of management, there are various approaches that principally aim to accelerate and boost corporate firms' revenue and operational efficiency. Progressive companies from around the world have been coming up every now and then with different strategies for corporate improvement. Some of these schemes have been so effective that other firms have recognized and even adopted. So Lean is a strategy for process improvement. So in the field of management, there are various approaches that principally aim to accelerate and boost corporate firm productivity and operational efficiency. So progressive companies from around the world have been coming up with every now and then different strategies for corporate improvement. Some of these schemes have been so effective that other firms have recognized and even adopted them. So one of these efficiency philosophies is what we term lean. So now, what is lean? Lean is a holistic and strategic approach that aims to enable businesses and organizations to improve and boost competitiveness and profitability. Remember, why do we have our businesses? Our businesses is meant for us to be profitable. Our businesses is aimed at what? Satisfying our customers. And lean is actually customer-centric. It's taking up decisions for the customer, listening to the customer, trying to come up with ways of bringing up services and products to customers without any hindrance, any waste. So lean aims at to introduce what? Steps in desired improvement through identifying and gradually eliminating wasteful or unproductive activities and practices among employees and management. You'll be so shocked when you seriously look at processes and activities of employees and management in organizations. Most times, the activities being done is because of unproductive activities. That's why when we implement lean, we'll be able to understand that, right? All those things that is not needed to get that service or that product to the customer. So the scheme called lean manufacturing is a program or methodology that could prove to be fitting and appropriate for all types of businesses or organizations. So when we say lean has nothing to do with, sometimes when we say lean manufacturing, people look at it as just for manufacturing. No, lean is meant for both service industry, manufacturing, and all that. You can even implement it at home. So the scheme called lean manufacturing is a program or methodology that will prove to be fitting and appropriate for all types of businesses or organizations. Lean manufacturing will be effective whether adopted by companies in the manufacturing, in the service industry, trading, or other sectors.
Excuse me. Okay. No. I just want to be sure it's working. Just a moment. Let's sort this out. You can ask them if they're seeing it. They can comment in the chat box.
Hello, okay. Are you? Please, can you comment if you are seeing?
They can turn on their microphone or you can unmute them. Unmute.
Yes, I can see it now.
Okay, you can see it now.
Yes.
That's good. And then if you have any questions, you can easily type in and then let me know. I think I will have to go through it again because the screen wasn't showing before. Let me just go through it all over again so that I will be able to be carried along. Donatus, how are you? Are you there? Hello, Donatus. So just let me know if you have any.
Yeah, I think Donatus will come back in. Maybe he's having some tech issues. All right, let's.
Okay, so what we are doing today is we're introducing the concept, the tools for process improvement, Lean Six Sigma, and Lean Six Sigma, as it is actually a professional tool used for process improvement. Is a professional certification exams preparatory. We'll have exam preparatory for this too. We also have the angle, once you are done with your preparation, you can as well become a consultant that will be engaging in process improvement for organizations. So what we've just introduced before is that Lean is actually a tool used for us to remove waste and non-added non-value added activities in our processes. So the tool Lean Six Sigma, Lean is used to do all this, making sure that employees, management spend time in things that will bring of value to your customers, that will bring profit to your organization, that will also make the work to be to be seamless and effective and efficient for those who are working on it. So lean manufacturing is focused on helping companies get the right things to the right people in appropriate places at the percent or right time and in the right amount or quantity, while at the same time reducing waste, promoting productivity and flexibility among workers. So what do we mean by this? When we say getting things right at the first time, will mean you don't need to carry waste. When you process MAP, you'll be able to make sure that all your organization, all that comes out from your processes will be value added activities, things that your customers will be willing to pay for, then things that your customers will be willing to accept from you. So Lean focuses on this and making sure that you also get the right quantity, as you said, at the right time. That's getting things to your customers just in time, or even getting things that you use in your organization just in time, so that you will be able to avoid inventory and others. So lean manufacturing and waste. It does not take a successful manager to assert that businesses and companies carry unnecessary and unlikely burden of waste. Lean is an operational strategy that enables you to change for better. Lean manufacturing as a philosophy focuses on reducing the 8 wastes commonly identified among global firms. It's also identified where even in small and medium enterprises and all sizes of organizations, you can always see waste in those places. So lean manufacturing attempts to help companies identify and eliminate this unnecessary waste, processes that do not add value to the customer, to improve outputs and quality, to maximize production and time needed for ease, and mostly to significantly save on cost. Every organization, every management wants the bottom line to be the bottom line. What do we mean by this? Everybody wants to maximize profits. And if you're able to remove all unnecessary processes, all the things that is not needed for your process, for that product or service to get to your customer, that means you've been able to effectively remove unnecessary cost. And all these unnecessary costs can be done through the use of lean. And once you identify the 8 waste, which we're going to look at in the next slide, when you identify the 8 waste, you'll be able to consciously remove each and every one of them. Consciously, and what we are actually talking about here is continuous improvement. You continuously make sure that this is maintained within the organization, within your organization. So the 8 ways of lean manufacturing aims to slash and eliminate in the workplace all that is not needed. So what are those 8 wastes? We'll call them the downtime. We'll use the acronym called downtime. D standing for defects, O for overproduction, W is for waiting, N for non-utilized talent, T for transportation, I for inventory, M for motion, then E for extra processing. Let me explain each and every one of them. Defects are those efforts caused by rework, scrap, and incorrect information. All those efforts that you put in as an organization to do what? Rework. Once there's, in every process, what we want to achieve once we are implementing a lean is I want to create flow. Let's use the metaphor of your customer going through a stream. He wants to swim without any hindrance. So once there is any hindrance, what will happen? You have to come back and do that work again. So in any organization, once you have what we call rework, reinspect, redo, once you see it then means you are going to go back to look at that process again. You are going to rework, you are going to put in more effort, and that is what we don't want to have. Yes, Ojigo. So that is a defect, and no customer wants to pay for incorrect information. No customer wants to pay for scrap. All these are things that we can, once we implement lean, we'll be able to remove them from our organization. Then the second one is overproduction. Overproduction, producing that is more than needed or before it is needed. I know some people will ask this question, before it's needed, oh, that's a good one. At least the person is efficient and the organization is efficient to have come up with services or even products before it's needed. No, this leads to the waste of overproduction leads to the waste of inventory. You remember from the onset I mentioned just in time. Produce what is needed at the time that is needed. So overproduction, an example in your organization can be a meeting being conducted and it was done by just one unit of 8 people. When you are producing the reports, you are doing the reports meant for the whole organization. That's wastage of time and resources and wastage of papers. Then the waste of waiting, wasted time waiting for the next step in a process. Now, let me give you 2 different customers that we have in an organization. Every organization have the internal and the external customer. The internal customer are those their colleagues, those that you wait for their inputs is always, their output is always their input for you to produce a certain service or a certain product. So the time you are wasting for admin to give you a response for you to go ahead and procure for procurement department. That time, if it is not managed well, is time of wastage. The time that an organization must wait for an expatriate to come in from Italy for them to be able to overhaul their machine, that time is waiting. So if we're able to remove all this from our processes, what will happen? We'll be able to optimize, and we'll be able to always get our services and our product to our customers right on time. Instead of having an expatriate to work on a particular machine, that means you must work, you must make effort to make sure that you have experts within your organization or even within your geographical location to be able to do that. In your organization, within the internal organization, the time that you need to wait for your colleague, maybe your IT department, to make sure that the web and the internet is working or not, all that you optimize them so that it won't hinder the external customer that you are serving. Because when you put together all this, all the waiting period for each unit or each department to respond before the real package, the real service or the product is given to the customer, that's when you have a lot of delays. So the waste of waiting can be worked upon so that the cycle time can be taken away and customers will be good with it. So non-utilized talents, under utilizing people's talents, skills, and knowledge. Here you are not using the right employees to do their work. And not only that, even as they are doing their work, you need to cross-train. There's something we call cross-training. For some organizations like, what organization will I use now? Let's use the restaurant. Some restaurants, they have peak period during lunchtime. What will happen? That means you are going to need more people to work as servers. Let's also use this period that we're in now, the COVID pandemic period. You know that we'll have health workers, and some of the health workers that we'll have, some are cleaners, some are nurses, and all that. Now, there are some people that will be needed to also help in working as health workers or volunteers. So these are, when you train people to serve in different fields, they will be able to do different things. Something happened in Toyota. That was early 2000, 99, 2000, when they wanted to, they were focused on growth alone. And Toyota is the main, they've been the real, one of the forerunners of lean. Something happened, they started looking at growth and forgot quality. They had this gear problem that made them to recall most of the cars that they had. As a particular model, a Camry model that they produced, but that model had problems, that they had a lot of fatalities, they had a lot of recalls, so they had to recall thousands of cars from different parts of the world. They had to pay claims, warranties, and all that. So why did it happen? This is a company that used to focus on employee engagement before, and since they now focus on growth, because they were building they wanted to be the highest automobile company in the world. So they lose focus on listening to their employees, and that's what caused that. Now, we also have transportation, the waste of transportation. This is unnecessary movement of products and materials. Now, we had this project in a place where it's a company that had issues with, they noticed that their production In their production line, they've been producing. Normally, once they produce, the thing gets to store, and then salespeople takes it to warehouses and to their customers. Business was just moving, but all of a sudden there was a change in one of their processes. This led to the production line now noticed that sales was not really going on well. The warehouse was filled and they were not moving stock. So they now looked at it, why are you not moving? Why are you not selling? This led to an investigation to be conducted by going out into the field, going to the wholesalers, retailers. Why are you not pushing our market? And they say, before your product comes to us, it's now taking a long time before it comes. So what we'll do, whatever that comes from any other company that looks like what you're doing, if it is Indomie, we'll have different types of Indomie. If it is Panadol, we'll have different types. So we'll sell the one we'll have for our customers since you're not coming as and when due. So we'll have to go back to the organization, looked at the processes and noticed that there's this process before any truck leaves that facility. They need to sign off their way bill. And to do this, there's a young man that is on the ground floor. They have 3 floors. And in each of the floors, they have different signatory that must append their signature before the goods will be allowed to go. So this young man, when he goes to first, second floor, sometimes what will happen? The second signatory will not be there. He has to come down. He will start all over again. So this led to a lot of the waste of waiting that we just mentioned, and then the waste of transportation by himself as the person moving up and down. And to solve this, we were able to get 2 people to be the signatory, reduce the signatory level, and they all seated down in one place, facing each other. So that reduced that, and they lost a lot of money, millions of naira. So that's what this can do. Even waiting was also in place there. So in some cases, you see different ways, so many ways playing out in an activity. So what is inventory? We also have the inventory as a waste. Excess products and materials not being processed or being processed on time. You know, I mentioned that in overproduction. Once you overproduce, it will lead to inventory. You have to store and clean it, and even engage security people to be able to look after all this. So just in time really works here. There's also something we'll call pull and push. We'll get to know all that later. Now there's the waste of motion. In waste of motion, I know so many people are always confused with transportation and motion. This is unnecessary movement by people. Example, the walking together. The transportation is movement of what? The materials. The movement of materials. Those paper, the paper that the young man was supposed to take to different signatories, that is the waste of motion, the waste of transportation. He himself moving from one floor to the other is waste of motion. It's just like we always say that nurses walk almost 10 miles every day while at work. So how do you solve this? You have to make sure that things are in assembly line for them to be able, at point of use, it should be close to them so that they can be more efficient and more effective. Now we also have extra processing, more work or higher quality than is required by the customer. This is like having it, this is like saying gold plating. A customer tells you, I want an iPhone. The iPhone should be produced for me. What I just needed to do is to make calls and then WhatsApp only. You going into production, you now say, oh, there are so many apps that is in vogue now. Okay, let me also add this other tool. Let me also add this other feature. This is what extra processing. And those extra processing will take resources, human resources, and take financial resources. I know why I'm taking time to really explain this, because lean is focused on this 8 waste. That's exactly what it is. So overproduction is extra processing and inventory. Let's look at overproduction, extra processing, and inventory. So why some companies view overproduction in the positive way, most especially those in service and manufacturing sectors take it as a manufacturing liability. So our production will create a pile of inventory that would eventually create a problem in distribution, because most warehouses have capacity limits. We mentioned that before. So what is worse is that overproduction and piling of inventories are the usual causes of price drops, which are deemed bad for the business by most firms. So let me ask you this question. If overproduction here is seen as what that it leads to inventory, and sometimes it causes price drop, what will you say about the oil price down? Let me hear from you. The oil price, yes, you know that oil is now below how many dollars? How many dollars down?
It's a bit rising up to like about $20 starting to $20.
Okay, $20. And what do you think that led to the fall in price? Andy, Noddy?
Probably we have a price war between Russia and Saudi Arabia, the two power holding producers of hydrocarbons around the world.
Okay.
Combined with the big problem in Nigeria,
yes.
in Nigeria today, we are aware of most of the rigs are not even operating anymore. They've all shut down the platforms. The DS10 is packed up, and Mobil just shut down all their production facilities and all that. So
okay.
The panic is, yes.
Yeah. And I think, let me just add to it. And I also think because people are told there is a lockdown, you know, only essential service providers are going to work. So even demand for the product,
there's no much demand for the product at the moment. So what do we have now? We have overproduction, and is leading to the price that we have, that is that's the drop in price. Engineer Chris, are you there? Okay, so let's continue. So overproduction, just as we said, extra processing and inventory. So when you have overproduction, it can lead to what? Inventory. It always leads to inventory. So the fundamental law of supply and demand will attest that if supplies are exceeding or too much, the demand tries to settle down or decline. So demands going down will mean prices rolling back or dropping as well. So extra processing is unnecessary, because it takes so much productive time from employees and managers. There are many disadvantages of extra processing, and most of them seem pretty obvious to you. So overprocessing makes costs blow up. You know, I just mentioned gold plating, where you are into construction, your customer just told you that what I need from you is I need a culvert. And I need a drainage system.
And, online.
Hello, are you there? Okay. So I need a drainage system. He did not tell you that you should put in in the specification, there's no covert or some other features. So when you look at it, I think this one would be good to be added to it. You know, yes, it's good, but all the same, it's extra processing. It's going to take your human resources and your resources, and this for lean we don't want. Transportation, motion, and waiting. Because time is an important element of productivity, lean manufacturing values it's the most. Thus, lean manufacturing philosophy aims to what? Boost your efficiency. What we're looking at is what? Time, productivity. Lean actually looks at what? Um, your timing, cycle time. Are you producing on time? Are you making sure that things get to your customers as at when due, not when they don't need it, not before they need it? Because you know we mentioned that once you produce earlier than when it's needed, it becomes the first waste that we mentioned. You remember the downtime defect is a defect. That's not when it's needed. Transportation is an essential element of manufacturing because through it, commodities and merchandise are distributed to retailers down to the customers. So, however, lean manufacturing mandates firms to maximize the use of transportation. So, motion should be controlled. Lean manufacturing will have companies slash procrastination and unproductive hours among employees so as to increase and meet sufficient production targets. You know, we've just talked about all this before. So if motion is made efficient, then waiting could be reduced, if not eliminated. In lean manufacturing, waiting makes idle of people and it kills time that should have been used instead in productive measures and activities. That's why in some organizations you see sometimes the employees, that's the time they'll be reading news. Reading newspapers. They'll be flipping their phones and doing some other things because they are not fully engaged. So we'll have to make sure that we'll have our workstation well laid out so that people who are supposed to be people should be close to where they work, where they deliver, where the next, as I mentioned earlier, that will have internal customer. If your output is an input for another unit, let it be that you people are very close to each other so that you'll be able to render those services right on time. So inventory, non-utilized talent and defects. Lean manufacturers have it that if employees are efficient and if they are motivated, the quality of production will be greatly boosted. That means the company would not have to spend cost on wages, energies, and other capital just to produce defective items that would eventually be rejected upon distribution. You know, we don't want our customers to reject things. We don't want to produce what is not needed by the customer. Most times we have to have a survey of the customers by having what we call the voice of the customer. So that in production, in services that we are designing, the model will have to fit in the specific customer's needs. You will have the customer avatar that we want so that we'll be able to produce what they want exactly the way they want when they need it. Because just as we mentioned, if you turn it in earlier than when they need it, that means they are also going to run inventory. They are going to store it. They are going to put it in warehouses, run security expenses and all that. So nobody wants to do that. So while inventory and scraps and defects in production items are inevitable, companies adhering to lean manufacturing could always do something about it. Basic management principles have it that motivation is the most effective incentive to get workers doing the right and proper procedures in the workplace. Now, for you to achieve lean, it's not something that you do from management, just management that will do it. No, it has to be everybody. everybody in the organization. So everybody, more especially those that work where the work is done. We'll call it Gemba in Lean. The Japanese name for where work is done is Gemba. So this will work within within where the work is done. They know where the process has. They are the ones that when you do process mapping, you notice that they are the ones that will tell you where there's a loop, where there's always a repeat, where there are things that is not going on well. So when we implement Lean with everybody being involved, we'll be able to process improve, and they will be able to carry it along. So all 8 wastes that are combated by Lean manufacturing strategies are somehow interconnected with each other, that eliminating one could lead to the elimination of the others. Just as I mentioned, when you do overproduction, you are in for what? Inventory and all that. So what are the paths to Lean? In theory, we'll have application. Now, the 8 ways we just mentioned, waste is what? Deadly. Define value. Act on what is important to the customer. What is important to the customer, not just anything that you think of. It must be something that the customer wants. Identify value stream. Understand what step in the process add value and which don't. So when you do your process mapping, and you'll be able to understand the value. When you also do your value stream mapping, you'll be able to identify what and what is necessary for this product to get to the hand of your customer, so that you don't do things that is not needed. Make it flow. You know, I mentioned the metaphor of flow, that a customer wants to go through the river without any hindrances. And if there's no flow, there's a hindrance. It's just like having what we call a bottleneck. You know, once flow is going on, once maybe 2 processes or 3 processes are going on at the same time, and you are making sure that it gets to the customer as quickly as possible. It gets to where that young man is seated downstairs, and will have 2, 3 floors. This young man takes the things needed for these 3 signatories to sign. At the end of the day, they are not there. So that is what a bottleneck. And whoever that sits on that bottleneck is a desired flaw. Whoever that sits there will always have a problem, even if it is the CEO. So when you do process mapping, when you do value stream mapping, you will now notice where the problem is, and this can be removed. We'll eliminate it. Let customer pool. Avoid making more or ordering more inputs for customer demand you don't have. So you have to allow customers to pool the demand. An example of pool is you like tell us what do they do? Is when you come, you mention what you want, you pay, they will do what? They will make the clothing for you. But in some cases, pull and push may really not work. Like where you have the pharmaceutical industry, pharmacists will not operate pull. What they will operate is what? Push. Yes, push. Because it's not when somebody has malaria or have this COVID-19. When you get to the pharmacist or the chemist, for him to administer any drug to you, I mean, the pharmacist in the hospital, they will tell you, oh, we don't have it now. Okay, now you've made a request. We are going to, so we have to make a demand for it. So no, for such places it's push. Pursue perfection. There is no optimal level of performance. Excuse me, let me just take water. Now, in theory, you focus on what? Flow. You must be flow focused. Always make sure that your customer is able to go through your process without any hindrance. So that's what we say is a continuous improvement. You must make sure that there's nothing, there's no new law, new process that you introduce that will make this customer to stay longer, or that will make it, instead of that will increase the cycle time for waiting and all that. Now, assumptions, non-value added steps, you must exit them. Now, results, what have you been able to do with all this? You now have reduced cycle time. Now, we've been talking about lean. We also have, we said lean introduction to what? Lean Six Sigma. Let me give you the two examples of what these tools are for. Lean focuses on what? Waste. Lean focuses on removing waste in a process, while Six Sigma removes what? Defects, error, and variation in a process. Six Sigma focuses on using statistics and all that to make sure that this goes off, while Lean will remove what? Waste. And all the tools we are going to use to do all this, we are going to introduce to you too. So Lean tends to be used for shorter, less complex problems, oftentimes driven. Focus is on what? Eliminating wasteful steps and their practices that we have. While Six Sigma is a bigger, more analytical approach, often quality driven, it tends to have a statistical approach, focus on optimizing the important steps, reducing what? Defects. We'll understand what defects are in our subsequent slide. So some argue Lean moves the mean, while Six Sigma moves the variance, but they are often used together and should not be viewed as having different objectives. So a combination of these two, Six Sigma and Lean Six Sigma, is a powerful toolkit that will help every organization to remove waste and defect in a process. Waste elimination eliminates an opportunity to make a defect. Less rework means faster cycle time. So Sigma training might be specialized to the quality department, but everyone in the organization should be trained in Lean. This is actually what we normally do in so many organizations that we're able to go to. So people can be exposed to different levels of Lean Six Sigma professional certification, yellow, green, black. Some we even do an introductory part, which is the white belt, so that if you are doing process, if you are if you want to introduce process improvement projects, everybody will be carried along. There will be no waste from anybody. Now, this is the voice of customer versus the voice of process, voice of customer. You must listen to the customer. Customer is very key. And these are the people that will give you, you will be able to come up with any model, or with any service or any product. The voice of the customer will direct you on how to do that. Now look at the voice of the customer here. For this, we'll have the lower specification limit and the upper specification limit. This is what the customer's his voice is, what he wants to get from your service or your product. Anything earlier, anything here is a defect. Anything outside here is a defect. Now, this is the voice of the process. The voice of the process is giving us upper specification limit here and lower specification limit here. What do we mean by this? Now, the voice of the process is independent of the voice of the customer. Why? Because voice of process is where you have both your internal processes, where you have the internal customers, different suppliers. I never mentioned the SIPOC here. People who are supplying you different products and all that. So what are those things that where for you to come up with a product or a service, the customer wants it to be given within the cycle time, within this time. And you yourself, what you already have on ground, the voice of the process already is all this. So you need to make sure that this is pushed to meet up with the customer's voice. Now, Six Sigma capability, these are some of the things that we do in order for you to mention. You know, we said Six Sigma. Six Sigma means the different levels of the organization at the point in time based on their processes. And this means what?
In front of my motor shop, I was sleeping.
Hello, are you there?
Yeah, I never knew that that house was there. I would have gone there a long time before now. One day I see that baby back.
Sorry, I think they should mute their microphone.
Please, can you mute?
I'm not sure he knows it's muted.
For bike.
Hello?
I think that music, I will stop. I was just, and that time,
You can just mute them. Okay, so for different capabilities, we have different per million opportunity. Look at 2 Sigma level, you have different per million opportunity up to 308,000. And the yield is 59. The interesting thing is you can see that even 4 Sigma level is 99.3 and all that. Now 6 Sigma is 3.4 million different per million opportunity, and yield is this. We are going to understand what each Sigma level is when we get them now. Now, what is good enough? We'll have different at 4 Sigma level, we already have 99%. Now, this is at 3.8 Sigma level. Is 99% good? At 3 Sigma level, we'll have what? 20,000 lost articles of mail per hour, based on 2 million per hour. Then at 6 Sigma level, when you must have optimized your processes up to 6 Sigma level, you have just 7 articles lost per hour. So which one is better? Is it 20,000 or 7 articles? Now look at this, unsafe drinking water for almost 15 minutes each day. Now, for when you must have optimized up to 6 Sigma level as an organization, you have what? 1 unsafe minute every 7 months. 7 months. This is 5,000 incorrect surgical operations per week. 5,000. Now you have 1.7 incorrect operation per week. You have 2 shots or long landing daily at an airport with 200 flights per day. Here you have 1 shot or long landing every 5 years. So you see the reason why most organizations cannot operate without implementing Six Sigma. The aviation, pharmaceutical, nuclear, energy, oil and gas. You cannot operate without implementing Six Sigma because you cannot just make any of these mistakes. 2 million wrong drug prescriptions, 680 wrong prescriptions. Even in manufacturing, you cannot run without this. So even if you're already doing that, you'll be able to implement Lean Six Sigma in order for you to optimize and eliminate all these defects. So what is the goals of Lean Six Sigma? Now, we said the voice of customer before, that's customer's target. Customer wants what? The lower specification limit to be at this place and the upper specification limit to be here. So prevent defects by reducing what? Variation. Look at the variation here. Now, customer target is this, while we have the upper specification limit here. So prevent defects by centering what? The process. You make it to center. There's a lot of defects here. There's there's a lot of variance. Here you have the customer's targets. You've been able to meet up with the customer's target. You've been able to center everything that is. So what makes a good Lean Six Sigma project? Before you can embark on Lean Six Sigma project, you should know whether it's a good one or not. For it to be a candidate of Lean Six Sigma project, there is no known solution. The root cause is not known. The problem is complex and needs statistical analysis. The problem is part of a process. The process is repeatable. Defect can be defined. Project will take 3 to 6 months. There are data available. So for Six Sigma projects phases, for we to embark on Six Sigma, these are, we must go through what we call the DMAIC phases. DMAIC.
You cannot.
DMAIC phases. That's define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. So define, describe the problem, quantifiable, and the underlying process to determine how performance will be.
No, I understand. Group Timo, you want to share training.
Sorry, excuse me. I think someone's microphone is on. Please do mute yourself. We will appreciate it. And maybe Patrick, if you can just if they need to ask a question, you can allow them to ask a question. I'm not sure I'm hearing her clearly.
Okay. So now we'll have the DMAIC phases: define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. These are the phases that you will use for you to engage on any Six Sigma project. So the define is describe the problem, quantifiable, and underlying process to determine how performance will be measured. Then measure, use measures or metrics to understand performance and the improvement opportunity. Then the next phase that you go, and you must go through them one after the other. This after define is measure. After measure, you now analyze. Under analyze, you have identified the true root causes of the underlying problem. This is a place where, first of all, let's say you have headache, and you get to a medical practitioner. Oh, doctor, please, I noticed that I have severe headache. And the doctor looks at you, pulls out his drawer and gets a pain reliever and gives to you, and you go your way. Hey, 2 days later, you come back, the same headache is there. 3 days, the same thing. Whenever you come, he gives you that. That means you have a real quack doctor. You know, but what doctors normally do is they do what? They clock. Once you come, they'll say, you say you have a headache. When did you sleep last night? What kind of job do you do? Do you have stomach pain? Do you have, are you having difficulty in breath? In order for them to know whether it's COVID. I know it's not COVID. I'm just joking. But you know, so these are things that normally in Lean Six Sigma or in Six Sigma, you also do that. So under analyze, that's where they are trying, what is the doctor trying to do? Is he trying to just treat the headache, or he wants to get to the root cause of what is happening? After asking all those questions, you'll be able to identify, oh, maybe it's malaria. He gives you a malaria tablet. Now we'll have improve. The next stage is improve. Identify and test the best improvements that address the root causes. Then the last phase is identifies, that's the control. The control phase identifies sustainment strategies that ensure process performance maintains the improved stage. What do we mean by this? Under improved phase is improve. That's where we have something that things that we can call mistake proving. You mistake proof, make sure that If there's any problem that has been happening all this while, it will not happen again. Even if you can even make it to be a foolproof. That's why we'll have things like the gear, the automatic gear that we have in our cars. If it is on D, most times you notice that you cannot start. The car will not start because they don't want you to make mistake of running into people's property or running into people. So it has been mistake proofed and they've sustained it. These are projects that have has been worked on in the time past. Okay. So under define scope of the problem, document the process, collect and translate the voice of the customer, determine project objective and benefits, define metrics and defects, establish preliminary baseline, develop problem and objective statements, estimate financial benefits, create project charter, confirm improvement methodology, define project rules and responsibilities, then identify risk, establish timeline, managerial buy-in, so that your project sponsor will be able to take it to management and they will have a buy-in for that project to be executed. Focus here is on the problem. So our focus under define is what? We're looking at the problem itself, whether it's something that we're going to escalate to what? Measure. Measure what is measurable and make measurable what is not so. That's what Galilee said. Define as it is process. You can have as it is process map, value stream map, process flow diagram. These are things that you do to identify how your process is running at the moment. You are not trying to tell us how it's going to be tomorrow, what you have in future, as it is now. Everybody sits down. Sometimes organizations, it takes them 1 week or even more. You have to take time to really process, to do this process flow diagram in your organization and then value stream map. Now, validate measurement system for outputs. Don't assume your measurements are accurate. Measuring system must be accurate. It must accurately tell what is happening at the moment. Then quantify process performance. Collect data, all the Y's. That's all the dependable variables. Then examine process stability through capability analysis. Under analyze, that's the next phase. Identify potential causes of the excess, or the excess that you have. Investigate significance of excess. Collect data on excess. Then graphical stroke quantitative analysis. You also do the 80-20 rule, which is you can use Pareto charts, fishbone diagram, cause and effect diagram, or it can also be called Ishikawa diagram. The Kai chart tests regression analysis, failure mode, effect analysis, FMEA. Then identify significant causes to focus on Y, which is a function of or the axis, the independent variables. So Y is dependent on what? The axis. Evaluate the impact of axis on Y. Here you identify the critical factors of a good output and the root causes of defects or bad output. And then that takes us to the next phase, which is the improve phase. Here we generate what? Potential solutions, select and test solutions, develop implementation plan. Then finally, for our project, we'll do what? We'll create control and monitoring plan so that you can maintain the gains. This is where you have mistake proofing, the process, determine the axis to control our methods, determine Y's to monitor, so that if he dips, you know what to do. People who are working in the process will know what to do to bring it back. Implement full-scale solution. Revise to develop a process. Implement and evaluate what solution. Then, finally, you finalize transition. Develop transition plan and hand off process to the process owners. Okay, thank you very much. If you have any questions for me now, I would like to hear from you. It's question time.
Okay. Thank you, Patrick, so much for the beautiful expose on Lean Six Sigma. I think every business needs this. Lean is a process, you know, and it's continuous improvement. So if you have any questions, it's a good time to turn on your microphone or use the chat, you know, to drop your questions. Tell us your name, where you're watching us from, and then you can, you know, leave your question. Thank you.
Okay, we're waiting for your questions. You can drop a chat. Okay, we're waiting for your questions. Okay, Voke. Okay, Voke. Okay, yes, we do have an online certification. We have online live training for Lean Six Sigma, yellow belt, green belt, and black belt. We also have the online one that you can always get your hands on. We are actually accredited by International Association for Six Sigma. We are accredited training organization for them. So you do that and you can write your exams with us too.
Okay, more questions or comments?
Okay, I will share that with you, where you can get more information from our website. And if you don't mind, you can also leave your email address so that we can send you a more detailed, maybe a proposal and lead you to where you can get that, all the information for your registration. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Patrick. Thank you so much, Patrick, once again. I think we would love to have your feedbacks. I think it's a 2-3 minutes form. I've just dropped the link in the chat. So please do leave us feedback as we wrap up the session.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Delight, I saw you said you came in a little bit late. Maybe what we'll do is to give you the replay. From there, you quite understand what Lean Six Sigma is all about. Lean Six Sigma is a toolkit, a process improvement toolkit used for process improvement. Lean focuses on eliminating waste, while Six
Thank you.
Sigma actually helps in eliminating defects and variations from processes. So we're going to share all that with you, all of you, later, so that you can take a look at that and understand what we explained. So these are the courses that we have. We have Lean Six Sigma trainings for yellow belts, green belts, certification, and black belts. We also run consultancy services for organizations for process improvement, both for people who are in healthcare, manufacturing, oil and gas, SMEs, banking, and all that. We've been on this for the past 12 years. All right. So now we'll have this to Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt, everything you need to know about becoming Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt. Some people can go in for this introductory part of it. You can see we can also share the link for you. But you know that Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt is the beginner's level for people who are just starting. If you've been in employment for the past 5, 6, 7, 10 years, 15 years, you might be able to do the green belt or the black belt. So just get in touch with us so that we can advise you on the one you need to do. So these are the ways to get into the yellow belt. It's just an example. All right, thank you very much, and do have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining. Here is, you can see our website, our email address, in case you want to get in touch with us. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, participants. We appreciate your time. You could use our website to contact us, chat with us, and we will take your, inquiries afterwards. God bless you.
Amen.